In today's video, we are taking a deep dive into the fighters who, in my view, have truly fallen off in 2025. And while every fighter experiences ups and downs, this year has been particularly rough for the four names on my list, starting with number 4, Gervonta "Tank" Davis, who, despite all the setbacks he's endured over the past several months, still has a realistic shot at turning things around if he can regain focus and discipline. But there is no denying that 2025 has been one of the most turbulent years of his career, and it all really traces back to the period before his fight with Lamont Roach, when Tank openly admitted that he was considering retirement, saying that he didn't feel like he had the right mindset for boxing anymore and wanted to step away entirely, which, on its own, would have been his personal choice, and perhaps even a healthy one if that's what he truly wanted. But once the fight took place, it became clear that walking away might not actually be the best solution, because the bout with Roach ended in a highly controversial draw that many, myself included, thought should have been scored for Roach. And I say that as someone who was there in person watching the fight unfold, and the atmosphere in the arena made it obvious that most of the crowd agreed with that view as well. That result, fair or not, left a noticeable blemish on Tank's legacy and his perceived standing in the sport. And instead of using the moment as motivation to prove doubters wrong, his year took another turn for the worse when he was arrested again, adding to a long history of legal issues that have followed him for much of his career. Making this particular incident an even bigger stain on his image, the problem for Tank now is that between the draw with Roach, the public perception that he got a favorable decision, and his off-the-ring troubles, his reputation has taken a hit. Yet despite all of that, I still rank him at number 4 instead of higher, because he still has the talent and name value to bounce back if he makes the right moves, starting with either a focused rematch against Roach or just getting back in the ring with someone else to reestablish momentum, because as things stand, no one really knows what the future holds for him. Moving to number 3, we have Ryan Garcia, whose 2025 has been nothing short of chaotic and self-destructive, which is all the more surprising because the year before, in 2024, he was riding the highest wave of his career, having just pulled off a massive win over Devin Haney that sent shockwaves through the boxing world and had many people, myself included, thinking he was about to step into superstardom. Unfortunately, that victory quickly unraveled when news broke that Garcia had tested positive for steroids, a revelation that at first many fans refused to believe because of his image and the way he presented himself. But as the months passed, evidence and developments convinced more and more people that the test result was legitimate, and that reality took a huge chunk out of his credibility and put an asterisk next to the Haney win. The damage didn't stop there, though, because in the aftermath, Garcia began spiraling online with a string of erratic and controversial statements and posts that alienated fans and made him a lightning rod for criticism. Then came the fight with Rolando "Raleigh" Romero, which was supposed to be his big redemption moment and a chance to get back to winning ways with an emphatic knockout. Yet instead, it became one of the lowest points of his career as Raleigh dropped him once, and then outpointed him clearly over 12 rounds, winning a unanimous decision and handing Garcia a loss that sent his stock crashing even further. In the space of just over a year, he had gone from being the sport's golden prospect to a polarizing figure weighed down by scandal, erratic behavior, and in-ring failure. Still, like Davis, he is young enough to reinvent himself, if he can take time to get his personal and professional focus back in order, before stepping into another major fight. Number 2 on the list is Tyson Fury, who not too long ago was regarded by many as the best heavyweight in the world and the man to beat in the division. But the past couple of years have painted a very different picture, and the decline arguably started in late 2023 with his fight against Francis Ngannou, where Fury was shockingly dropped and ended up winning only by a split decision that most observers thought was extremely generous to him, and which cast a shadow over the sport as a whole, especially when Anthony Joshua turned around and knocked Ngannou out in just 2 rounds. Making Fury's performance look even worse then, in 2025, came the 2 consecutive losses to Alexander Usyk. And while losing to Usyk is nothing to be ashamed of given his elite skill set, the contrast between Fury's dominance just a few years earlier and his current form is stark. Add to that his constant retirement announcements and comebacks, and you have a fighter whose career path is as unpredictable as ever. Although a clash with Joshua would still be a huge draw and a fight many fans want to see, it's clear Fury's days as the clear number 1 heavyweight are behind him. Finally, at number 1 is Tim Tszyu, one of my personal favorite fighters to watch because of his aggressive style and willingness to trade punches. But sadly, the last couple of years have been brutal for him. His decline began with his first fight against Sebastian Fundora, which started well for Chu until he suffered a bad cut that shifted the momentum, allowing Fundora to take over and win in what was still a competitive bout. But instead of taking a more measured return fight, Tzu chose to face Bakram Murtazaliev in what turned out to be a disastrous decision, as he was knocked down multiple times and stopped in the third round. In a one-sided beating, the kind of loss that can permanently change a fighter's trajectory, he did manage to get back in the win column against Joey Spencer. But when he stepped back in with Fundora for a rematch, things went wrong again as he was dropped in the first round. And though he survived until the 8th, the fight was ultimately stopped because he was taking too much damage. Watching that fight, it was clear that every clean shot from Fundora hurt him, suggesting that his punch resistance might already be badly compromised, which is a troubling sign for someone whose style depends on taking risks and engaging in heavy exchanges. It's tough to see because Chu has provided so many entertaining nights for fans, but after the punishment he has taken in the last 2 years, it may be in his best interest to take a long break to heal and consider how to adapt his style if he wants to extend his career. Those are my picks for fighters who have fallen off the hardest in 2025. And while each situation is different, the common thread is that each of these men still has the chance to change the narrative if they can address the issues that have led to their decline. Whether that's regaining focus, avoiding outside distractions, making smarter fight choices, or simply taking the time needed to recover from physical and mental wear and tear. The fight game is unpredictable, and while the fall can be quick, the road back is always open to those willing to put in the work.